Hello everyone, and welcome back to our YouTube channel. We're excited to have you here. In today's video, we're going to explore one of the most important growth levers in modern software, and that is AI-driven personalization for SaaS retention and customer lifetime value. If you are building a SaaS startup, managing a subscription software company, or trying to reduce churn while increasing expansion revenue, this topic can completely change the way you think about growth. In this video, we'll break down what personalization really means in a SaaS environment, why so many companies still get it wrong, how artificial intelligence is changing the retention game, and what practical strategies can help you keep customers longer while increasing the value of every account. So sit back, relax, and let's dive into today's video. Imagine two SaaS businesses with similar products, similar markets, and similar acquisition budgets. Both are bringing in trial users. Both are running paid campaigns. Both are publishing content. Both are telling investors they have strong growth potential, but one of them keeps losing customers after the first few months. Users sign up, explore a little, and then disappear. Some convert but do not expand. Others renew once, then quietly leave. The second company, meanwhile, keeps deepening customer relationships. Users adopt more features, teams bring in more teammates, accounts upgrade to higher plans, and renewals happen with far less resistance. At first glance, it might look like the second company simply has a better product. But often the difference is not the product alone. The difference is that one company learned how to make every customer interaction feel more relevant, more timely, and more useful. In other words, one company learned how to personalize at scale. That distinction matters more than most founders realize. A lot of people still think personalization means adding a first name to an email subject line, sending a few segmented campaigns, or showing slightly different landing pages to slightly different audiences. That is not real personalization. That is surface-level customization. Real personalization in SaaS means the product, the messaging, the onboarding, the support, the recommendations, the expansion paths, and even the timing of customer communication all become more intelligent based on who the customer is, what they are trying to achieve, what behavior they are showing, and where they are likely to go next. And when artificial intelligence is layered into that process, personalization stops being a manual marketing tactic and starts becoming a retention system. This is exactly where the conversation becomes much more interesting, because customer retention in SaaS is not just a support issue, and it is not just a customer success issue. It is a business model issue. If customers leave too quickly, your acquisition engine becomes less efficient, your payback periods get longer, your margins get squeezed, and your company has to work harder every single month just to stay in place. But when retention improves, everything changes. Lifetime value rises. Expansion revenue becomes easier to unlock. Word of mouth becomes stronger. Product feedback becomes richer. And the business becomes more resilient because growth is no longer dependent only on bringing in fresh demand. That is why the smartest SaaS operators are paying so much attention to personalization right now. According to McKinsey, companies that grow faster generate significantly more of their revenue from personalization than slower growing competitors. The same research found that 71% of consumers expect personalized interactions and 76% get frustrated when they do not receive them. Now, those numbers are often discussed in broad customer experience terms, but the underlying point matters just as much in SaaS. Modern users do not want to feel like they are moving through a generic software machine. They want the product and the company around it to understand context, reduce friction, and help them get to outcomes faster. And that takes us to the single most important idea in this entire video: The purpose of AI-driven personalization is not to make software feel clever, it is to make customer progress feel easier. That is the difference between gimmick and strategy. If personalization simply makes your app look more dynamic, that is nice, but it will not necessarily increase retention. If it helps users reach value faster, discover the right features sooner, get relevant support at the right moment, avoid overwhelm, and see clearer reasons to stay, then it starts affecting the economics of the business. Retention is not mainly about making customers impressed. It is about making customers successful. The first strategy for scaling SaaS retention with AI-driven personalization is to personalize onboarding based on intent, not just account type. This is where a huge amount of retention is either protected or quietly lost. Many SaaS companies still onboard everyone the same way, the same welcome sequence, the same product tour, the same checklist, the same dashboard prompts, the same feature education, regardless of why the customer signed up in the first place. But customers do not all arrive with the same job to be done. One user wants speed, another wants reporting, another wants team collaboration, another wants automation, another wants compliance. If everybody is pushed through the same generic starting path, a large percentage will never reach the moment where the product actually clicks. AI can improve this dramatically. It can analyze sign-up sources, company size, use case signals, initial behavior, feature clicks, team invitations, usage patterns, and support questions to infer intent early. From there, the platform can adapt onboarding flows, surface different tutorials, recommend different actions, prioritize different templates, or trigger different messages based on what seems most relevant to that specific account. This is what good personalization looks like in SaaS. It is not saying, "Hello, Sarah." It is saying, based on what you are trying to accomplish, here is the fastest path to success. Those are very different experiences, and that difference compounds. A user who gets fast clarity is more likely to activate. A user who activates is more likely to adopt. A user who adopts is more likely to renew. A user who renews is more likely to expand. This is why onboarding is not just the beginning of the relationship. It is the first draft of lifetime value. If you get that draft wrong, everything that comes later becomes harder. If you get it right, a large part of retention becomes easier before the renewal conversation ever starts. The second strategy is moving from segment-based personalization to moment-based personalization. This is where AI gives SaaS companies a real advantage over older approaches. Traditional segmentation still has value. You can group customers by plan, company size, industry, geography, or life cycle stage. But segmentation alone is often too slow and too broad for the level of responsiveness modern software growth demands. Two customers in the same segment can behave completely differently on the same day. One may be ready for expansion, the other may be close to churning. One may be highly engaged but blocked by setup friction. The other may look inactive but be doing important work in a limited workflow. Static segments do not always catch that nuance. This is why more companies are moving toward what McKinsey describes as next best experience. Instead of just asking, which segment is this customer in? The system asks, what does this customer most likely need right now? That is a much more powerful question. According to McKinsey, AI-powered next best experience capabilities can improve customer satisfaction by 15 to 20%, increase revenue by 5 to 8%, and reduce costs to serve by 20 to 30%. That matters because retention and lifetime value are rarely improved by one giant intervention. They improve through hundreds of smaller moments, handled more intelligently. In practice, moment-based personalization might mean identifying when a power user should be shown an automation feature before they hit a productivity ceiling. It might mean recognizing when a team has invited several colleagues and is ready for a higher tier plan. It might mean noticing repeated failed actions and triggering support before frustration turns into abandonment. It might mean realizing that a user is logging in frequently but using the product narrowly, which could signal unrealized expansion potential. The important point is that AI personalization works best when it is attached to decisions and timing, not just content. The third strategy is using AI to personalize customer success before risk becomes visible to humans. This is where many SaaS companies leave an extraordinary amount of value on the table. Customer success teams often operate reactively. They respond when a customer complains, when usage drops sharply, when renewal gets close, or when an account manager notices something feels off. But by the time those signals become obvious, the account may already be sliding toward churn. The opportunity is to use AI to detect weaker signals much earlier. That can include changes in product depth, declining usage among champion users, support frustration, lower adoption of sticky features, longer time between sessions, shifts in billing behavior, or a drop in collaborative activity inside the account. AI can combine these signals and surface risk patterns that would be difficult for a human team to catch consistently across hundreds or thousands of customers. Then, customer success can step in with precision, not a generic check-in, but the right intervention for the right risk. Maybe that means education. Maybe it means a workflow redesign. Maybe it means a training session. Maybe it means highlighting underused functionality that solves the exact problem causing frustration. And this is why personalization should never be reduced to marketing. The highest leverage personalization in SaaS often happens after the sale. It is in product guidance, support, lifecycle nudges, value communication, and proactive success motions. If your retention strategy ends when someone becomes a customer, it is not really a retention strategy. It is just acquisition with a delay. The fourth strategy is personalizing product discovery so customers do not outgrow the product without realizing its full value. This happens more often than most companies want to admit. A customer buys a solution for one clear reason, uses only the narrow functionality they needed at the time, and never discovers the broader value that could have kept them around longer. Later, they cancel because the product feels limited, when in reality, the problem was not a lack of capability. The problem was a lack of guided discovery. This is one of the most powerful uses of AI in SaaS today. Instead of waiting for customers to find value on their own, platforms can recommend relevant features based on role, maturity, usage patterns, and business goals. A team using your software for basic reporting might be guided toward automation. A company using one workflow might be shown how to connect another department. A solo user might be shown collaboration features once usage reaches a certain level. Personalization here becomes a bridge between current value and future value, and that bridge is exactly where expansion revenue lives. High Alpha's 2025 SaaS Benchmarks report makes this point in a slightly different way. The report emphasizes that once SaaS companies move beyond roughly $20 million in ARR, expansion increasingly becomes the dominant growth engine. That is a crucial insight. There comes a point where scaling is less about winning brand new logos and more about growing the value of existing accounts. AI-driven personalization is one of the clearest ways to support that shift. because it helps companies identify the right upsell, cross-sell, or adoption pathway at the right time instead of pushing offers randomly. The fifth strategy is personalizing communication across channels without becoming intrusive or chaotic. This is harder than it sounds. Many companies know they should personalize emails, in-app messages, support interactions, webinars, and account outreach. But in practice, these efforts often become fragmented. Marketing sends one message, product sends another, customer success sends a third. Support operates in its own lane. The customer gets bombarded with disconnected information, and instead of feeling understood, they feel managed. Twilio's 2025 customer engagement research highlights how fragmented systems and siloed data make it difficult for businesses to deliver truly connected experiences. That challenge is especially important in SaaS because the customer relationship spans multiple functions for long periods of time. If different parts of the company are responding to the same customer with different assumptions, personalization breaks down fast. AI can help solve this, but only if the underlying systems are connected well enough to support a unified customer view. That means personalization should not be built as a stack of isolated messages. It should be built as a coordinated communication system. The customer who just completed onboarding should not receive beginner education as if they are still new. The account flagged as churn risk should not get aggressive upgrade prompts that ignore recent frustration. The team showing strong feature adoption should not be treated as though they need generic activation help. Every message should reflect the customer's current reality as closely as possible. The more aligned the experience feels, the more trust grows. And in retention, trust is not a soft metric. It is a major economic variable. The sixth strategy is treating trust as part of personalization, not as a separate issue. This is where a lot of AI enthusiasm runs into a very real wall. Salesforce research has shown that trust is becoming more fragile, not less, and that many customers want transparency when interacting with AI systems. PwC's 2025 Customer Experience Survey found that more than half of consumers are not fully comfortable using AI tools to engage with brands, while a very large majority still consider human interaction important to the overall experience. That does not mean AI-driven personalization is a bad idea. It means it has to be done in a way that feels useful, respectful, and transparent. Customers do not want to feel manipulated. They do not want to feel watched in a creepy way. And they definitely do not want to feel trapped inside automated systems with no escalation path. Good personalization increases relevance while preserving trust. Bad personalization increases suspicion while pretending to increase convenience. If your AI seems to know too much without obvious value, trust drops. If it makes wrong assumptions with too much confidence, trust drops. If it blocks access to a real person when the customer clearly needs one, trust drops. So one of the smartest strategies in SaaS right now is human-backed personalization. Let AI handle recognition, prediction, prioritization, summarization, and recommendation, while humans remain available for nuance, empathy, negotiation, and judgment-heavy moments. This creates the best of both systems. Customers get speed and relevance when automation is useful, and they get reassurance and problem-solving when complexity appears. That balance is often what separates retention-friendly automation from churn-inducing automation. The seventh strategy is personalizing around customer value, not just customer behavior. This is a subtle difference, but it matters enormously. A lot of companies personalize based on what users click, how often they log in, which features they touch, or what content they consume. Those signals are useful, but they are not the whole picture. High lifetime value is created when the customer sees measurable progress toward their desired outcome. That means the system should not only react to activity, it should connect activity to value. For example, a customer using a project management platform may not care that they click 12 times on a reporting tab. They care that reporting saved their team time, improved visibility, or helped leadership make faster decisions. A marketing automation customer may not care that they explored a workflow builder. They care that the workflow produced more qualified leads with less manual work. Personalization becomes far more powerful when AI helps translate usage into value narratives the customer can understand. This matters especially near renewal because customers often do not leave due to a lack of activity. They leave because they do not feel the business impact clearly enough. This is where AI can help account teams enormously. It can summarize wins, detect outcome patterns, identify feature-to-value relationships, and generate customer-specific business reviews that feel more relevant and less generic. Instead of saying, your team used these features, you can say, your team reduced response time, increased collaboration, and expanded usage across departments. That is a very different retention conversation. One is a usage report. The other is a value case. The eighth strategy is using personalization to improve pricing expansion without damaging goodwill. A lot of SaaS companies want expansion revenue, but they approach it with blunt instruments, generic upgrade banners, broad upgrade emails, same offer to everyone, same urgency sequence, regardless of fit. And then they wonder why conversions stay low or why customers feel pressured. Expansion works better when it feels like the logical next step in the customer's success journey, not an interruption imposed by revenue goals. AI can make this smarter by identifying patterns that suggest readiness for expansion. That may include feature saturation, increased seat usage, workflow complexity, volume growth, cross-functional adoption, or recurring requests that map naturally to a higher tier. Instead of pushing everyone equally, the system can focus on the accounts where additional value is most likely to be real. That improves conversion efficiency and protects the customer relationship at the same time. This is important because customer lifetime value is not increased by squeezing customers harder. It is increased by helping the right customers get more value over more time. Expansion should feel earned by relevance. The moment it starts feeling disconnected from the customer's actual needs, it becomes a tax on trust instead of a driver of growth. The ninth strategy is measuring retention through a personalization lens instead of a generic dashboard lens. This is another area where companies often miss the point. They track logo churn, revenue churn, net revenue retention, average contract value, customer health scores, and renewal rates. All of those matter. But if you want to understand whether AI-driven personalization is actually working, you need more precision. Our personalized onboarding paths reducing time to first value. Our recommended features increasing multi-product adoption. Our personalized support flows improving resolution speed without hurting satisfaction. Our churn risk interventions reducing preventable cancellations. Our tailored expansion prompts converting better than generic ones. Without those measurements, personalization can become one of those initiatives that always sounds promising but never fully proves itself. And that is dangerous because companies can spend a lot of time and money building personalization systems that create noise instead of business impact. The goal is not to have more personalized touch points. The goal is to create more profitable customer relationships, and this is where retention connects directly to acquisition efficiency. High Alpha's benchmarks point out that the relationship between retention and acquisition efficiency remains one of the strongest predictors of SaaS performance. That is an important reminder. A business with high net revenue retention and efficient acquisition usually performs very differently from one with weak retention and expensive growth. Personalization, when done well, strengthens that relationship. It helps you get more from every customer you already paid to acquire. The 10th and final strategy is understanding that AI-driven personalization is not about predicting everything. It is about reducing avoidable irrelevance. That may sound like a small idea, but it changes expectations in a healthy way. You do not need a magical system that knows exactly what every customer will do next. You need a system that helps your company stop making obvious mistakes at scale. Stop sending the wrong message to the wrong user at the wrong time. Stop treating high potential accounts like average accounts. Stop waiting until frustration becomes churn. Stop forcing customers to rediscover value you could have shown them earlier. Stop making people do manual work to get to outcomes that could have been made easier. That is where AI becomes strategic, not because it turns your SaaS company into science fiction, but because it helps eliminate the friction that quietly destroys retention over time. And maybe that is the biggest perspective shift in this entire topic. Retention is often described as something you defend after the sale, but in reality, strong retention is something you design into the customer experience from the beginning. The more intelligently you personalize that experience, the more likely customers are to stay, grow, and deepen their relationship with the product. Ultimately, AI-driven personalization strategies for SaaS are not really about clever messaging or flashy automation. They are about building a software business that gets more relevant as the customer relationship evolves. That is the real opportunity, not personalization as decoration, but personalization as compounding value. The companies that understand this in 2026 will not just communicate better, they will retain better, expand better, and build much stronger lifetime value across the entire customer base. And with that, we've reached the end of today's video. I hope you found this information valuable and learned something that can help you retain more customers and grow your SaaS business more intelligently in the years ahead. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up, subscribe to the channel, and turn on the notification bell so you never miss our upcoming videos. We'd also love to hear your thoughts, questions, or experiences in the comments below. Thank you so much for watching and for being part of our growing community. Take care, stay motivated, keep learning, and we'll see you in the next video. Goodbye.